Hi there.
How are you?
Thank you, Chairman Hueso, Chairman Bell, and members of the committee for the invitation to participate in today's hearing. We appreciate the opportunity to share Uber's story and how our technology is facilitating mobility and opportunity for people across the Golden State. Uber began as the answer to a simple question: is it possible to get a ride at the push of a button? And the answer that we've come to learn is yes. Today, just 5.5 years since our founding, this simple idea has transformed into a technology platform serving nearly 4 million riders and 120,000 driver partners across California. These partners have helped build Uber from the ground up. Because of them and this body's support of innovation, ride-sharing is thriving in California. And it's thriving under modern regulations approved by the California State Legislature, state regulators, and Governor Brown. Regulations that we support that are designed to protect the safety of the riders and the drivers while also not imposing unnecessary barriers to those trying to earn a living. In accordance with existing law, every ride-sharing driver is screened, every ride-sharing trip is insured, and every ride-sharing vehicle is inspected. But our commitment to safety does not stop there. Our technology makes it possible to focus on safety before, during, and after every trip in ways that were simply never possible before. No ride with Uber is anonymous. Before every trip, a rider can see their driver's name, their photo, their license plate number, and their vehicle make and model, and if needed, contact their driver. During a ride, a driver's location is tracked by GPS in real time, by us, by riders via their app, and by any friends and family that they choose to share their trip details with. And after a trip, our technology allows passengers to rate their drivers and vice versa. If there's ever an issue, users can contact 24/7 customer support immediately and we'll take action. We believe that safety is not immune to innovation. It can be enhanced by technology. And that's why last year we formed a safety advisory board, which includes renowned experts like former Boston Police Commissioner Ed Davis and Margaret Richardson, the Chief of Staff to former Attorney General Eric Holder, so that they can advise us on how to improve our safety features every day. This commitment to safety also extends to the communities that we're proud to serve. The ability to push a button and get a ride is helping people across the nation make smarter decisions after a night out with friends. A Temple University study found that the use of UberX led to between 3.6 and 5.6% reduction in alcohol-related deaths in cities where Uber operates. In California, according to a Mothers Against Drunk Driving study, thousands of drunk driving accidents have been prevented since the launch of our ride-sharing service. This is all to say that although Uber grew out of a desire to solve a very simple question, we're helping to tackle some of the biggest challenges facing our state. Challenges like mobility. City by city, Uber's technology is changing the transportation status quo. We're offering a new mode of transportation that complements and improves the system we have today. Because right now, too many people across California lack access to reliable, affordable transportation, and at the same time, our highways are congested as more cars are added to the road every day. We believe that there's a better way. We believe that somebody living in an underserved community should have the same access to an Uber as everyone else. And we believe that by making rides more affordable and more reliable, more people will forgo solo trips in favor of shared rides, particularly with innovations like UberPool. The idea behind UberPool is simple. 2 people, or sometimes now 3, taking a similar route are now matched, and they take 1 car instead of 2 or 3. In just a handful of cities, UberPool has already been responsible for millions of rides. And the potential impact of more shared rides is tremendous on emissions and on traffic. And as Professor Shaheen noted earlier, in conjunction with the National Resources Defense Council, she's studying this very issue, and we eagerly await the results of her study. We're also working closely with public transportation agencies to bridge the first and last mile gap and helping California meet its world-leading environmental standards. And there's been a lot of focus on how technology and innovation are evolving our transportation ecosystem, but there has been much less focus on Uber's broader impact on the economy and how it is offering people more flexibility and opportunity to earn money on their own terms. Drivers come from all walks of life, from stay-at-home parents saving up for a family vacation, to freelance artists complementing their income when business is a little slow, to retirees supplementing their fixed incomes. Our technology has also expanded work opportunities to deaf and hard of hearing drivers with our enhanced app, and to bilingual drivers who want to serve Spanish-speaking riders with our Uber Español option. On average, half of these men and women drive fewer than 10 hours a week. The choice is completely up to them. Today, we're working towards a future with fewer cars, more access to reliable transportation, and more work opportunities. We look forward to working collaboratively with you in the months and years ahead to make California an even better place to live and work. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And you did mention in your presentation there were 120,000?
120,000 driver partners in California.
Okay. Thank you. Now we'll go to Marco Soto with the Taxi Cab Paratransit Association of California.
Good afternoon, Chairman. Marco Soto speaking on behalf of the Taxi Cab Paratransit Association of California. I also work for Yellow Cab.
Maybe bring the mic a little bit closer. Is that on?
The red? Oh, now it's
There it is. There you go.
all right. And
Why don't you introduce yourself again, because I don't think the public.
sure, Marco
Sure.
Soto with the Taxi Cab Paratransit Association in California. And I also work for Yellow Cab in Los Angeles. We have 1,291 vehicles and roughly 2,000 drivers. What we would like the state to consider at some point is some regulatory relief for the taxi cab industry. During the PUC proceedings, we raised the issue of regulatory imbalance, and our concerns were dismissed because the PUC said that it had no jurisdiction over taxi cabs. Now, 3 years later, our business is way down across all of our taxi cab fleets. We're getting beat on price. We have to file our rates with every single city, and those rates have to be approved. In some cities, it's even illegal for us to offer discounts. Discounts as small as $5 on a trip. We're getting beat on fleet size, which we have no control over. Cities set caps on the amount of vehicles that we could operate with the given franchise. In some of the South-based cities in LA County, the price of getting a franchise permit in the city prevents drivers from getting a permit in neighboring cities just because it's so expensive. And we're also capped at the number of vehicles that we could operate in each one of those jurisdictions. For example, in Manhattan Beach, Hermosa, and Redondo. We're also getting beat because the city boundaries keep us from dispatching the closest vehicle. We can only legally pick up in cities where we have a business license or a franchise agreement. We're also getting beat because we still have 24/7 insurance in the worst insurance market since the 1980s. While our competitors are able to get away with part-time insurance, insurance is now more than 40% of our cost structure. We're getting beat by companies with access to previously unimaginable amounts of money. They buy down their prices to artificially low levels, and they lose hundreds of millions of dollars each year. All of this was created by cities who refused to step in and regulate the TNCs, and also by the state, not by the TNCs themselves, not by the taxi industry. You may say that we need to go city by city for regulatory reform. We just did that in the city of Long Beach. It took us 7 months to do that. And then it would take us, if we had to go city by city in LA County, that's 87 other cities, and just multiply that by that time of the process. That regulatory reform package went into effect in July. And if we look at this at the statewide level, we would have to go to 400 cities throughout the state of California. It makes a lot of sense to look at a statewide approach. If this continues, it's only a matter of time before our industry goes out of business because we continue to follow the rules that keep us from competing. We're asking the state of California to please act. We need to correct the regulatory imbalance now, and we need to put rules in place that will allow us to succeed or fail on our own merits. TPAC, the association that I'm representing today, will be working on legislation that will allow our industry to complete with price flexibility, fleet size flexibility, and the ability to get one permit instead of city by city. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Hollingsworth?
No problem. Thank you, Chairman Hueso.
Illingworth, sorry.
Illingworth. Okay. Thank you. And this committee. I'm very happy to be here actually and representing, I'm actually Kevin Illingworth, the president of the Greater California Livery Association. I also operate a small company in Orange County, California, Classic Limousines. I've been in business since 1990. I've seen a what's going on in this industry is what I call the gray theory, I guess, what's happening out here in the industry, where nothing seems to be black and white anymore. Everything just seems to be gray. So I just kind of answer some questions in regards to what was kind of asked of what I thought would be important to talk about today. What distinguishes each of the transportations for hire services, and do they matter? Taxi is a hail type of service, whereas chauffeur car is more of a black car type service, which is mandated to be prearranged per state regulations. As of January 2014, chauffeur car was authorized to be prearranged via app technology, which is available in our industry now. Both passenger services are mandated to adhere to strict safety regulations and commercial for hire registrations insurance, to say the least. As for TNCs, we feel they have blatantly ignored, refused to follow all state rules and safety regulations, and the state has allowed such behavior, which has been detrimental and unfortunate to the passengers and public that have died from such actions. We truly believe that current taxi and chauffeur car rules and regulations are completely inadequate, and the state should for every for-hire company to adhere to such regulations. What are the implications and benefits of the technology used to solicit the ride? We have found that our customers enjoy using our technology in our industry, although we have clients that prefer on-the-phone personal approach. We also believe without regulations being enforced, illegal solicitation and complete ignorance of the law by the unregulated drivers will continue to be burden to public safety and eventually cost the state billions of dollars in tax dollars. Which level of government should be regulating? We believe the CPUC should continue to regulate all the passenger transportation in the state. However, we also believe the lack of enforcement capabilities of the CPUC has been detrimental to our industry. As from testimony today, I really wasn't impressed. In an audit, it was found that the CPC has $9 million of the PUCTA fees that has not been spent for enforcement. That's by Senator Hill. And of our funds that we strictly allocated for enforcement, which was raised, I believe, less than 5 years ago, which was never spent. We believe the CHP should have a special assignment of officers who enforce CPUC regulations in this field. Should there be one standard for transportation for hire? We believe that everyone in passenger transportation should abide by all mandated rules and regulations set forth by the state. However, the state must have an enforcement arm to ensure compliance with all regulations. I'm not sure how they could ever do that with 30 enforcement officers, and obviously with my counterparts here saying they have over 100,000 vehicles on the road. Our association will and continues to support the state on proper safety standards to assure the public is safe. How can accessibility be ensured for the disabled? To our knowledge, there are specific companies that provide professional transportation services for the disabled, along with taxi services that already meet certain enforcement standards for like services. We too have members that will have all the vehicles must be mandated to the commercial registered with commercial insurance for anyone for professional transportation hire. Is surge pricing fair to consumers? We believe pricing should be company driven as it relates to competitiveness with industries. Lastly, we hope the Commission takes into account every serious amount of time and focus our members make to fully vet drivers, chauffeurs that work within our industry, which includes extensive training hours. We believe it is very dangerous to allow anyone behind the wheel of a vehicle for hire without the proper training. Legislation is in action with no level playing field. It is forcing our industry to towards the independent contractor model. Why? In order to compete and put food on our table for our families, without a level playing field, employees and companies are at risk. Again, I've been doing this for 26 years, and I have my son in college now, and I'm not sure there's going to be anything left for my son when he gets out of college. Thank you.
I'm not up on the current fee that you pay per vehicle. The commissioner wasn't sure either.
So as of right now, we actually, to get a new license in the state of California to be a TCP operator, it'll cost you $1,000.
$1,000 that you pay per vehicle?
No, not per vehicle. That is actually just to get the license. Okay, so basically we could have, if you wanted to, you could actually have like the TCPs, TNCs, they actually pay for one license. Again, they only pay $1,000 and they can have 10,000 vehicles. We pay $1,000 and we can still have, I think the largest operator in the state of California is 200.
Can you have 10,000 vehicles?
We could, yes.
For the $1,000 fee?
Yes, that's true.
No. Okay. No? Is there a disagreement?
I wanted to correct something that was mentioned earlier. There is also a percentage of revenue that is paid on an annual basis by TNCs.
Okay.
Same thing for TCP.
You guys, so it's the same
Deputy-
policy that's applied on a company basis, not on a
It's
vehicle?
a quarterly fee that we pay for the amount of work that we do.
Okay.
So based on if they had 50,000 vehicles, based on that amount, they would pay a quarterly fee.
Okay.
Okay, we pay one licensing fee, and that is, I think, every 3 years,
And how many vehicles do you have under that license?
16.
16 vehicles, okay. And you pay, and for Ms. Blossom, you pay the same 1,000,
As my colleague noted, we pay a percentage of our annual revenue to the CPUC.
okay. As everybody else, but it's the 1,000 flat fee plus a percentage of the total revenue. Okay, that's good to know. Mr. Gleich? You want to?
Jim Gleich.
Gleich, sorry.
Chairman Hueso, Chairman Bell. My name's Jim Gleich. I'm the Senior Vice President of TransDev On Demand. We own and operate Super Shuttle. So Super Shuttle, is a shared ride airport service, and we've been doing shared ride for over 30 years. Super Shuttle's parent, TransDev, is the largest provider of passenger mobility in the world. We were shared ride before shared ride was cool. And knowing that, I was surprised that we weren't in the Transportation Research Board's report, since we have been doing this for a long time. Just some quick things about Super Shuttle and some similarities and differences between us and a TNC. Super Shuttle has tremendous technology. Most of our traffic is prepaid and prearranged. We have automated dispatch. We also survey every customer after a ride. They choose if they want to complete the survey or not. It's real similar. We have mapping similar to the others. So our technologies is real similar to what people have in the industry. We utilize independent contractors, franchisees who own and lease their own vehicle, similarity with the TNCs. We match up rides through an automated dispatch system, similar to what the TNC is. The difference is we're regulated by the California Public Utilities Commission. And as such, we are the largest PSC carrier, passenger stagecoach carrier, in the state of California. With those regulations, what's regulated? Well, our drivers are regulated. Again, talking about getting a TCP application, and the fees are each driver pays $1,000. It's not each company. Each driver pays $1,000 and a portion of their revenue per year. Our fares are regulated. We cannot change fares. We cannot surge fares. Our vehicles are regulated. Our insurance is regulated. Our areas of service are regulated. And because of what we do, we have to be ADA compliant, which includes yearly driver training. And we have to have the capacity on the street to be ADA compliant at all times. What's our fee structure? We just talked about that. We have the application fee. We have a PUCTRA fee, which is a percentage of revenue that everybody pays. The drivers have to go through a renewal, another $1,000 every 3 years. As you heard the airports talk, there's an airport fee as well. Some airports have different fees. The two that you talked to this morning were trip fees. However, in San Francisco, we also pay a third-party curb coordinator to do work for us, which is also over $1 million in fees. In all, outside of airports, Super Shuttle's paying over $1 million in fees to regulatory agencies per year in California. On the airport contracts, usually we have a minimum annual guarantee, which is different than what we have seen. But what we we are great at is we lessen congestion. We don't have any empty legs. We have clean air vehicles. 100% of our fleet in California is either CNG or propane. We take about 6 cars off the road for every trip to the airport because we don't have any empty legs. So we are doing our part to lessen congestion, to mitigate air pollution at airports, which are non-attainment areas. And what also we do with these airports, it gives us the ability to serve those without the smartphones, who just want to do walk up. We don't want to the 34% that said that don't have smartphones or rather pay. So we have that Here's our problem with what is going on. The driver procurement takes about 90 to 100 days to put a driver on in a regulated carrier. Our competition, which are the TNCs, can put a driver on almost immediately. We would love to have the same. Super Shuttle does a criminal background check. Our drivers have to enroll in a pool notice. Our drivers are random drug tested, and they make an investment before they get to generate any revenue while they're waiting for this regulatory process to unfold. So really what our story is, we do think you level the playing field. And again, we don't have any suggestions how you do it. We just think if it's good for them, regulating us should be regulating them. If there's no regulation on them, there should be no regulation on us. We'll compete. We're big enough to compete in any arena, but what we wanted to leave it to you is that what is your decision? Do we want to regulate the transportation world, or do we not want to regulate the transportation world? Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Do we have any questions from members? No?
Thank you. And I wanted to apologize for leaving for a little bit. I'm busy working on the transportation finance bill, and so I have to do that job too, so I apologize. The question I had was, what is your company's role now, and how do you view your company's role in implementing the Americans for Disabilities Act? And you answered it, Jim, but I think I want to hear from the various, just to get an idea about what your role is and how you go about looking at our civil rights law for people with disabilities. And what is your view of that, your company's view? Okay, maybe somebody can start down there.
I could go ahead and start. Marco Soto with LA Yellow Cab and the Air Transit Association of California. I'm speaking on behalf of Yellow Cab here. On a yearly basis, we pay somewhere between $350,000 and $400,000 in subsidies to drivers who operate wheelchair accessible vehicles. Okay. And that's just one type of disability, but we provide that subsidy there because we operate 23 paratransit programs in the county of Los Angeles.
You have a contract with the county?
No, we have...
Take money from them, basically.
We have contracts with individual cities, so a quarter of the cities in the county of Los Angeles, and so we have to invest money in that service in order to make sure the driver picks up the passenger on time, and there's a subsidy there for picking up the passenger because it takes a little bit longer time to in the onboarding process, and also once they arrive and helping the passenger out at their destination. We also have training for sensitivity training for the drivers before they come on board, and also if they're going to be driving a wheelchair accessible vehicle.
Okay. Yeah.
For our industry, like I said, our particular works are pretty good for us. Is our account. We have the actual account for Make-A-Wish in Orange County and Inland Empire. So what we do is we contract with a company that actually is ADA, so that we partner with them so that we go ahead and affiliate. So that when we do have those particular ones where it's not a fold-up wheelchair or it's a sturdy, then we have to actually, we'll partner and then we'll meet them there with the family, take the family in the limo or the sedan, and then the ADA vehicle will take the Make-A-Wish child and then we'll go to a shopping spree, something like that. That's how we work it.
All right.
Sure, I'll take a turn next. Kellen Blossom from Uber. This is an area where we're actually really proud of the improvements and in ways that we've used technology to enhance accessibility on our platform. First of all, we take non-discrimination incredibly seriously. Every vehicle on our platform is capable of handling a folding wheelchair, and every vehicle is required to serve service animals. But we've looked at ways that we can go beyond that, leveraging our technology. We've partnered with groups to get their advice, like the National Association for the Deaf, and with former Congressman Coelho, one of the authors of the ADA, to look at how we can leverage this technology. And we've come up with some interesting things. For example, for blind and visually impaired riders that want to access the platform, we've created a voice over iOS and wireless Braille display compatibility so that they have access to use the platform. One of the things that we heard from the deaf and hard of hearing community was that they experience high levels of unemployment. So we looked at how can we leverage our technology to allow them access to the platform. So we came up with an enhanced application for the hard of hearing community so that all of the cues are visual instead of audio, and so they can use the platform and notify when a ride request comes in by seeing it. And it's a great way that they can use the platform, and we've allowed the feature to opt in so that if a rider is matched with a driver who's hard of hearing, they get a text message and says, your rider is on the way, just so you know, your driver is hard of hearing, so if you want to communicate with them, please communicate through the app so that they can read your destination and any additional questions you have. So it's great that we can leverage the technology that's this kind of unique model of TNCs to go even further to serve these communities.
Okay, thank you.
I would echo a lot of the things that Kellen said. We also have, we very strongly believe that Lyft specifically and ride-sharing in general has completely changed the mobility options for the disabled community at large. We also have this policies in place to ensure that any foldable wheelchair is accommodated, that any service animals are accommodated. We continually are updating our educational videos for our drivers to make sure that they know how to interact and to assist people with disabilities. And one thing that I'll also point out, and Senator Bell, you had mentioned this earlier with respect to the elderly community, one thing that we've launched recently is a product called Lyft Concierge. One of the challenges in trying to provide more mobility options for the senior community is the fact that seniors, as a general rule, don't use a smartphone as often as the rest of the population. So Lyft Concierge is the first time that we've been able to launch something which does not require the passenger to actually have the smartphone. It is actually done, dispatched through a third party, and we've partnered with an organization in New York City to offer non-emergency medical transportation for seniors in New York, and we've started to expand that in other places as well. I know you had raised that earlier, so I wanted to make sure to let you know that that's something that we are taking very seriously. It's something that we're always looking at to find ways to enhance and improve.
Okay, yeah, Jim, you talked
We
about.
are absolutely compliant with the letter of the law.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, very good. We done? All right, I want to thank the panel. Thank you for being here today. I know a lot of you traveled far to be here. I really appreciate that very much, and the public thanks you as well. We're going to go to the public now, public comment. Non-agenda public comment, an opportunity for members of the public to weigh in on this issue. We ask people to try to confine their comments to about 1 minute, if you can, please.
Wait.
We do want to hear from you, but we have quite a long list of speakers, so we're going to begin with you, madam. State your name.
Hi, I'm Marilyn Golden, Senior Policy Analyst with the Disability Rights, Education, and Defense Fund. We are very concerned about a lot of aspects of what's happening with transportation network companies, very particularly, but not only, their problematic service to the disability community. It was interesting that both Uber and Lyft's response to Senator Bell's question neither mentioned wheelchair accessible vehicles. It's easy for pretty much any car to take a folding wheelchair. It's great that they're attending to that, but we've seen extremely minimal efforts to provide wheelchair accessible vehicles, where by contrast, as Annette Williams from San Francisco Muni discussed, some cities like San Francisco and LA too, another company talked about, having real significant wheelchair accessible vehicle programs, which are taking a huge hit as the taxi industry is decimated. And so the wheelchair access service is going down, not up, because of the impact of TNCs. There's other significant problems. I want to mention service animals. I want to point out that the CPUC has been a somewhat problematic monitor of some of these issues. For example, they have let TNC apps allow passengers to indicate if they're accompanied by a service animal, whether that's problematic, which just invites their drivers to say it's problematic, or to discriminate if somebody says they have an animal. People should be able to bring service animals without ever declaring that they do. That's really out of compliance with the ADA. So there's a number of other issues like that. I want to also talk about local control. I'm not a local control kind of person, generally speaking, but on this issue, we have been also disappointed by how robust the CPUC has been able to do. And we know that there are some cities in California, certainly San Francisco, that could probably do a good job. And so we hope it can be switched and that there could be a pilot program with San Francisco Muni to do the per-trip surcharge.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, please.
I had a question.